Hi, Sean. Thanks for joining me today and give me a little bit of your time and share some of your wisdom and how you and your team have been dealing with all this craziness.
Yeah,
Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your business?
sure. So I've been with PFP for like 34 years. We exclusively market insurance products to the credit union market industry. We do a supplemental whole life insurance, disability, critical illness, and accident. So we have four major products which we provide to the employees and mostly to the members of credit unions all over the country. We've got about 110 agents when we started before COVID. That were majority of them were out in the actual credit union branches, providing the opportunity for members when they came into the credit union to talk about and enroll in insurance programs. Pretty much nationwide. We have two carriers, one called Security Mutual Life out of Binghamton, New York, that provides our life insurance, and Chubb, who actually provides our disability, accident, and critical illness program. So, we've been building a good book of business over the last 40 years in reference to really being a premier player in the credit union industry to provide these kind of products. Pretty much one of the biggest in the country that provides these kind of programs to the credit union members. So we've got a pretty good niche in the market. In order for us to grow, and we're looking outside of the credit union market, and then COVID hit. So things changed pretty rapidly. So that's kind of a little bit of a background on what the company does. My job along the way was really to be a sales rep at one time, many, many moons ago. Then again, learning how to build sales teams all over the country. Used to travel around for maybe 15, 20 years of my 34 building sales teams. Then I came in-house and started learning a little bit more about the back office operations. And I kind of helped build from afar, but now I was here back in Connecticut, building and trying to expand upon that. Currently, I'm the Chief Strategy Officer, Executive Vice President. My job really is to bring in a lot of new, innovative ways of delivering those insurance programs through our sales teams, our proprietary sales teams, try to get the latest and greatest ways of making the member experience as efficient as possible, because the less effort they have to put into enrolling in an insurance program, right, the more likely they ought to work with us as opposed to someone else.
Right.
So that's kind of a little bit of the background.
Okay. No, that's great. So, has your target audience changed? Is it, and who specifically is it? I know you said credit unions.
Yeah. Before the COVID, we started, trying to figure out how we would expand outside the credit union market, and how do we just deal with, regular, digital platforms and, everyone else outside the credit unions. And, we ventured out a little bit, and then the COVID hit. So what happened is that the target market really didn't change. But now that we have a limited space and a limited way to access that space, because now no one's in the credit union branches.
Right.
All our insurance agents had to go home and work from home. So you really kind of continue to work on that existing book of business that you built over 40 years, which was hundreds of thousands of policyholders. But, there's only so much market share, wallet share that you can actually access. So where do you find new opportunities?
Right.
And that would be, maybe within the credit union market in different areas, but also outside the credit union market. So we feel that we've been forced to rip the Band-Aid off and look at other areas within the credit union, how to access the younger generation, millennials who really don't use the branches, the physical branches. They use it online. So how do you access them? And then also, how do you just access everyone else outside? And that's usually through your digital platforms. How do you make it easy for them to access online to find out about our insurance programs without having to go through a credit union? So it really opened our eyes to do that. And, that kind of moved to the top priority in our company to access more ways of reaching people, to have more opportunities to enroll in insurance, and again, to regrow the company, because through the COVID, we had to reassess, and not everybody who was in the branches, physically in the branches, adapted to being on the phones and selling on the phones. Then they didn't make it.
Right.
So our sales force went from like 110 people to maybe like 85.
Right.
And along with shrinking down the sales force, obviously you're going to shrink down all the support teams that help the sales force. So we took about maybe 60 to 70 people and shrunk the company down from 280 to maybe 210, 200.
Wow.
Reassessed, regrouped, realigned, pivoted, as they say.
Yep.
And we're a small company doing the same thing, but really poised for tremendous growth now that the prize is not just the credit union environment and industry, but the world.
Yeah.
So our carriers are backing us, and we've got a lot of things in place to make those things happen. Because one thing with PFP, we got a lot of young people who like to move quickly and like to have input, and we've opened the doors up to a lot of input. Because again, in this world, I don't care how long you've been working for it, nobody knows the answers.
No.
Just because you've been working for 34 years doesn't mean I know all the answers. Someone who's been working 6 months and I have better answers than I do.
Yeah. I
So
mean, well, that's why I was so excited to talk to you, because, you know,
Yeah.
I've worked with your team, and it was a lot of face-to-face.
Yeah.
That was the strength of the company. To see how you've pivoted. Like
Yeah.
you said, no, it's all hands on board, and all those crazy ideas you thought you'd
Yeah.
never get to are now in play, right? I mean,
They are in play in a very, very fast and energetic way, because, you want to keep, you got to keep on feeding the machine. You have still 85 agents is a lot of agents to continue to find new opportunities for. So you have to go find them everywhere. And, digital marketing, digital enrollment platforms seem to be a way to kind of just keep on encouraging people to enroll in insurance programs, make it real easy for them. Not having to call on the phone, not having to go to a credit union branch to actually, enroll in it.
yeah.
We're learning and we're moving quickly. Our carriers are writing proprietary programs for us. So we're not going out and, finding the salesforce.com and the stuff that you can get off the shelf. We're writing our own programs. And we're going to hit the ground running sometime in the fourth quarter with an online platform to enroll within the credit union and outside the credit union. So it's going to open up our world pretty much. So we're getting excited about that.
That's awesome. Yeah. What would you say is there one or two actions that you've taken that have really made a difference?
I think having the courage to shrink the company down and not really continue to incur and try to operate in an old model in a new world, whatever that new world might look like, because we're all trying to figure it out, and really be able to, let some long-term people go, shrink down the expenses that you had at one time. Now with a new model, you don't really need.
Right.
That was not an easy thing for, senior managers or everyone to get their hands around, but we did. And when we did that, you realize in this new world how much less travel you do, how much less money you spend on unnecessary expenses. And considering our sales volume dropped, the expenses dropped exponentially to a point where we are still profitable. We're still having a good year. But if we didn't drop those expenses and make those hard decisions, we'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
So I think that was number one, having the courage to do that.
Okay.
Number two, I think with a young company, the owners and myself, we're all in our 50s and we've been here 30, 40 years. So you still have a lot of energy left. And it wasn't resting on our laurels that we had to try to rebuild the old model, because we knew it was pretty evident that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So you had many, many executives and owners and senior leaders really collaborating consistently to kind of redirect our company, recalibrate our company quickly, and then put the pieces in place to make it happen. For example, you take 85 of the 110 agents left, but at the time there was 110. You had to get them out of the branches and on the phones quickly.
Right. So
they were on the phones with phone technology, voice signature, all the compliance you have to do when you're signing insurance up on the phone within 2 weeks.
Wow.
So there was a little downtime, but considering what happened, 2 weeks downtime is not a lot. And they were up and running, selling on the phones. Now, they weren't selling as much as they were when they were in the branches, but they're still selling, still employed, still working. And then our IT team gets a lot of credit for making that happen so quickly. So you got to have the right people in place that could pivot, recalibrate, and move quickly, so you don't have that long downturn. So I think the energy around the collaboration, the focus on making those changes without, trying to hold on and having the courage to, cut and eliminate people that were here for a long period of time because they just weren't contributing at the level they were before the COVID. Those decisions really helped us kind of stay healthy 6-7 months later to this day.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm curious. I mean, I know it's all similar to all the business I've been talking about and planning, like you're saying, and you may have to adjust again the way this is going. I mean, the communication, and I know you guys do such a great job at that. I mean, that must have played a big role in how to change their mindset. And
wow, that's so true. I kind of skipped over that. Communication was very important because, you can make a lot of decisions here in the corporate office, and if you don't communicate them and educate and give the backstory on why you're doing these things, people don't like to react to just being told what to do. So we made sure we had, town hall meetings, social hours where we could just collaborate, talk, openly discuss with, anywhere from the front lines to the owners of the company about what would you do to make this world better and productive for yourself. So we listened, we put game plans together, we summarized those game plans, re-communicated them out to the whole company, not just the sales force, but all the support teams. So everybody was on board with reference to how the company is recalibrating itself. If they had commentary or things like that, they had a chance to comment. They had a chance to be involved in meetings that at one time they were never involved with, because now you could put a WebEx together and you could have 40 people, 30 people on there, as opposed to when you're in Connecticut, you might have a conversation or a meeting with 3 or 4 people or 5 people.
Right. Yeah.
So I think it became more collaborative. We kind of all liked it. We struggle like everybody else and, how to get your opinions in with 30 people on a WebEx.
Yeah.
So you kind of figured out how to navigate through that. But again, we paid attention to like making sure everyone had a chance to speak. And, we've gotten a lot better at managing the WebEx system to where it is a little more efficient.
Right.
Keeping the collaborative idea around it and making
that
sure.
Mute button's very powerful.
So, you always want to host a meeting because you got the complete control.
You got control, right? It's like having the tap of the keg back in our college days.
That's so funny. Yeah. So I think that openness and open dialogue really helped people feel that they're a part of the solution of the new company. Whereas in the past, they were just a prop person. There might have been a person in a support role who didn't have a voice.
Yeah.
So I think people who are still standing in the company, still working at the company, feel that way. And I think that's kind of where we're going to go with this new group of people within the company, a little smaller, but there's so many opportunities for us to continue to grow in a really exponential way. So we're really excited.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's a great lesson for everyone.
Yeah.
Because I at the end of the day, I'm pushing with my clients. The end of it is you have to sell your way out. How you sell it's different. Like, I mean, how has the message changed? Because you got to be more empathetic than, can't just say, hey, here's our, product. You got to buy it. It's cheap now. How did you guys change your message?
Okay. So that's a really good question. First of all, with life insurance, disability, critical illness, and accident, there's obviously more of an awareness from the public about buying insurance. That went in our favor. At some point when you might have had a conversation 6-7 months ago, people like, it's not going to happen to me. I'm okay. Now it's like, happened to my, 35-year-old brother. I better pay attention and maybe buy some insurance.
Yeah.
So that was in our favor. The thing that wasn't in our favor is that people might not have had the money to do it now because they're losing their jobs and whatnot. So I think all the loans and all the government money that they put out there helped as well. But our message to the credit unions was really, how can we continue to reach out to your membership? And remember, the credit unions have trouble reaching out to the membership as well because they're not coming to the branches.
Sure. Yeah.
So they had to really activate their online platforms, their communication, their mobile apps. All those things had to be moving pretty quickly so they can continue to communicate. We happen to have that technology. We happen to be really, really good at reaching out and talking to people on phones. So we offer that as a support and help. And the credit unions were intrigued with that because they didn't really have the system in place. We did. So we ended up calling a lot of the membership just with a COVID message. Hey, how you doing? What are you doing during these times? What can the credit union do better to help you? And then also have the chance to talk to them about insurance. So it kind of our being there with the technology helped support the credit union and fulfill their need, as well as, giving our agents an opportunity to talk to people about insurance. So that was really helpful. There's one really cool thing that happened. We used to go to employer groups and, put a person in a cafeteria and they talk to the employees and whatnot. Well, obviously that stopped, but now we can do that virtually, remotely through WebEx.
Right. Oh, okay.
The Creighton's like, wow, we can't go reach out to our employer groups anymore, but we want to talk to them. And you guys have this technology. So we actually would call an employer group, set up a presentation for half an hour, talk about the credit union on the WebEx. They give their people a chance to get on the WebEx. And we have a chance to set up consultations and meetings to talk to people about insurance after that credit union presentation. So that was another message that we were able to support the credit unions to reaching out to their membership. So again, those are things we didn't do before. And now all of a sudden, 6 months later, we're now somewhat experts in it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, you take, and that's why I'm trying to push that, you could sit and moan and groan, but, now you got to, you got to look at it and go forward, and what's your plan going forward. And, it's even shorten the cycle, like you were saying. I mean, you can't, it's great to have a 5-year plan and those goals. However, what's going to happen in September? I think that's the,
and when I guess it was maybe March or April, everything hit, and May and June come by, and you start seeing the reality that, credit unions are just not going to open up like everybody thought. But there was a question mark around, okay, will they open up in October, November? Well, once the second wave came in, the credit unions basically tried to open up, but then shut down again.
Wow. Okay.
So, a lot of our agents had hopes that they would go back in the credit union branches and have to put this phone thing behind them.
Yeah.
Well, that obviously isn't happening.
Yeah.
So they really had to buckle down and figure out how to get better at being on the phones. And we had some people really excel and do well. But again, not the unknown is, how do you even have like a 12-month plan?
Yeah.
Our plans were like 3 to 6 months, and that was still a guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the timeline is short.
The goals don't change, but how we're going to get there can definitely change.
Goals didn't change, just how to get them did.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great point. And, that's why, again, I was excited to talk to you, because I know you guys had to make some major shifts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, and like you said, the new better, what I'm seeing coming out of this, and kind of what you're saying is, hell, we should have done this 5 years ago,
Oh my God. When I say rip the Band-Aid off, it's like we dabbled in the outside world. We dabbled in talking to people outside credit unions. Now we're like, we need to talk to them, because you can only, get access to so many credit union members. You just got to keep on feeding your machine in a better, more efficient way. So why limit it just to credit union members? Let's open up the world. So we actually have new products being designed within the last 3 months just to offer to the outside world that are different than the ones we offer to the credit union. So,
wow. Yeah.
So many things are happening quickly because people are realizing, like you said, why didn't we do this before?
Yeah, well, you were doing well. It's that comfort level,
Yeah, I guess, we do it well and trying to make minor changes to make it a little better. But these are drastic changes and, much more quickly. So that's
what I would recommend
exciting.
Anybody that, has to make drastic changes to listen to this and, get a hold of you or talk to me.
Oh, I'd love to chat with you.
That's God is great.
It's
what
scary.
advice would you give a business owner in today's, because everybody's survive, thrive, and grow at different stages. What was the one piece of advice you'd give?
Well, when I do look back, and certain industries didn't have to make cuts. They maybe just, had to rearrange their model a little bit. But, having the courage to really make sure the company was profitable for the remaining people who had to stay there. We had to let go 60, 70 people. But the other 200 people all have good jobs here and are sound. And that takes a lot of courage in a company, not to try to keep on satisfying the 280 people and making sure the business worked. It wouldn't. It just wouldn't have worked with that many people.
Yeah.
There's too much overhead, not enough sales coming in. That sometimes is hard to do in smaller companies when you have a lot of family members and people you're close to. And, how do you cut, so that is difficult to do. So I would almost say the smaller the company, the more difficult it is. And that's who got hurt the most, is the small businesses.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And our common friend there, I mean, we've been spending all type of hours going through, what ifs,
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's the critical piece. So if someone would need to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
Oh, give me a call on the cell phone. I love chatting on the phone. I love kind of collaborating and kind of comparing stories. My number is 203-507-9819. They could email me at smcginley, which is McGinley, at P as in Peter, F as in Frank, P as in Peter, services.com.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
awesome.
encourage people to do that, could reach out, because I love hearing what they went through too and see what they did it
Yeah, it's
better
all
than
about,
us.
I keep saying it's a village, man. The more we can learn from each other, and to your point back, take a step back, is you got to know your numbers. I mean, I just did a presentation and there was
Yeah,
30 people on the presentation and I was surprised, but
yeah,
you can't do what you guys did logically and
yeah,
efficiently if you don't know your numbers, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. They change a little bit, but you got to put a plan in place to meet those numbers. It's not a hope and a prayer. You really have to have some sound decisions made to meet those goals, and some of those sound decisions are not easy to make.
No, no. Well, I
And
have one last question, which I
yeah,
ask everybody, and it's not how much you bench press, but it's what would you say is most inspiring to you today? I mean, we have all this negativity. I'm trying to get, hey, what would you say is the most thing that inspires you to move forward?
um, God, change is typically the most scary thing in everyone's life. But I've always been a risk taker, and change encourages me because I like to figure out the puzzle. I like the new puzzle. People still say, Sean, you're so excited to come to work after 34 years. I say, because the puzzle is always there. It's always changing, and I like putting together pieces. So the most inspiring thing is that the world is changing. You now have a chance to leap ahead and be a front runner. And where in the past you might have always been kind of working neck and neck with competitive companies because you didn't have any kind of an advantage, we have an advantage. And I think we're going to be a front runner in providing insurance products, not only to the Creighton world, but to the rest of the world. And I'm encouraged to see where we land in another 12 to 18 months because of that energy. So
Yeah.
it's almost like I'm in the race and I've got the strongest team behind me, in front of me, on the side of me. And I know we're going to end up somewhere in the top one or two positions, where right now we might be in the past, we might be in the fifth or sixth.
Right.
So just making that little leap forward to me, gets me up in the morning.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love asking that question.
Yeah.
There's so much negativity. There's, people, that's how you're going to move forward. But
Yeah.
that kind of,
Yeah.
you
And
got
we
to
have
have
a lot
something
of,
to inspire you.
yeah. A
So,
lot of people in our company very much feel the same way I do, that they want to be that in one or two spot. We have a chance to do it now. You've been given an opportunity to leap forward, and we're going to take it.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Sean, I really appreciate a couple minutes of your time. I'm sure we probably could go for 2 or 3 hours, which we
Yeah.
have done in the
Yes.
past. So, anyhow, thanks a lot for your time, and
Okay.
we'll catch you. Hopefully, we get to see you in person soon.
I will definitely, I look forward to that.
All right, Sean, thanks.
Thanks.